Welcome to the Empowered Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Watson. I'm a mother of two, registered nurse, internationally board certified lactation consultant. I have over 10 years of nursing experience, including, of course, working with mothers and babies and as a psychiatric nurse. I started this podcast as a way to bring together my personal experience and my professional experience to show up compassionately from a place of love and understanding and to provide you with evidence-based guidance and support. So when you realize that you may need help with your mental wellness, that is a great first step. But acknowledging that you need help is just the first step. The next steps, some people may struggle with because it can be difficult to understand how to navigate the system, how to access the support that you need, or even understanding what type of support you need, what the options are. So, in today's episode, by the end of today's episode, you'll get to know when to seek professional help, how to find a therapist, when you need to see a psychiatrist, benefits of support groups, things you can do at home, and how your friends and family can actually help you. So first, let's talk about finding a therapist. So there will be some links down at the in the show notes, but finding a therapist, you can start, of course, with talking to your primary. Or honestly, you know what? If you go see any professional, any provider, and it comes out that you are feeling depressed, anxious, or experiencing any other mood disorder, personality disorder, anything of that nature. For example, if you see any provider, they may do depression and anxiety screens. It's a lot more common now, thankfully. We need that, right? When they ask you those questions, it's not just routine. And they do mention that most of the times, providers will say, oh, we just do this for everybody. And they mention that just so that you don't feel singled out. So don't think that that means that you shouldn't take it seriously, but they do say that just so that people can feel a little more comfortable and not feel singled out when they get asked those questions. So it is general and it is something that everyone is asked, but you should take it seriously and answer those questions honestly if you are presented with a depression, anxiety screening at any provider's office. But let's say they're not doing any screenings and you go see a provider and you have realized that, something's a little off. Tell them, and you can make an appointment just to tell them. So that's a great place to start with your primary care provider. And if you are pregnant or in that postpartum stage, talk to your OBGYN. Tell them what's going on. They need to know, they want to know. And tell your OB or your midwife, whatever type of provider you're seeing, let them know what you're experiencing. And even if you don't yourself know that it's depression, anxiety, or anything else, if you know that you feel off, like, you don't have to be the expert, honey. Okay. You don't have to be the expert in what's happening in your own mind and everything. Okay. Like, that's why you go to the trained people that are trained to evaluate and assess and understand what's happening and understand the best possible supports for you. That's why professionals exist, right? So, other than going to your provider to tell them that, hey, something's going on, you can do a search for yourself because you don't need a referral to see therapists. Okay. You can just make an appointment to see any therapist you like. But yes, of course, it matters if they take your insurance or if they don't do insurance at all, or if you don't have insurance, what is the price? How much is it going to cost? Do they offer a sliding scale? So sliding scales are often offered to help things be more accessible to people. So they look at your income and excuse me, I just had a scope done recently. So I mean, it's to clear my throat a lot, but we're going to get through this episode, okay? Listen up. It's still me. We still listening. I'm still coming to you, okay? So if they have a sliding scale, so this is how they'll look at, your income and determine what can you reasonably pay, so there are options. So don't think if you don't have insurance that you can't get support. You can get support. There are options available. There's a way to get it paid for, a way to get it covered. There's probably some program out there that you don't have a clue about. And again, you can ask your primary. You can do a Google search yourself if you need to find programs that take people without insurance or they offer sliding scales and those types of things. So looking for a therapist. if you're aware of places that, have therapists in your area, go ahead and look there. I love Psychology Today. So that's Psychology Today. So Psychollogy, the word today.com. You can find therapists and psychiatrists there. And what I really love most about Psychology Today is that you can filter the search for literally anything that you would want to search for. So if you want a certain gender, you want a specific race, you want to, I mean, a lot of us, if we have, especially us of, Black and brown communities, someone who looks like us, we may just feel more comfortable, having those kinds of appointments with. Therapy is you have to be vulnerable for it to work. And if you need to see somebody that looks like you, and for, everyone listening, if you're a mother, for all my ladies, and if you need a woman, you don't want a male therapist, that is okay. You don't have to go to a therapist that isn't going to work for you. You can get a therapist of any walk of life that you believe is going to work for you. So on Psychology Today, that's what I love. You can filter out by the type of by demographics of the provider you want to see. You can filter out by the type of insurance you have, and of course your area. You can filter by whatever it is that you have going on, whether it's anxiety, depression, ADHD, some type of trauma, PTSD, a mood disorder, whatever the case may be. Like, you can filter out for all of those things. So you can get a list, you'll get a list generated just of providers that meet that criteria. And I love Psychology Today. So that's going to be linked down in the show notes, of course. So that's another way to look for therapists. And if you know people personally that have needed therapy, ask around. Don't be shy to ask your people, hey, I heard you talk about going to therapy. Can you tell me about your therapist? Like, what did you like about them? Do you recommend your therapist or anybody else that was in the office with your therapist? Like, that's a great way to, also, I would say, if you're like skeptical about therapy, talk to people that have gone to therapy. I promise y'all, it's not scary. It's not some weird, I know in a lot of communities growing up, it was, you don't go talking to people about the thing, it was just kind of quote unquote taboo to go out in the world and talk to strangers about certain things. But that's how trauma got to build up and to continue to exist, because we were taught not to go out and talk to other people about what was happening in our homes or within our families. But you absolutely should. You absolutely need to. I'm a big advocate for the end of family secrets, because those don't help anybody. It just hurts people. Family secrets hurt people. Family secrets keep trauma going. Family secrets allow predators to walk amongst innocent people, allows predators to be out here preying on family and friends and things. And we don't want that, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. We're trying to shut that down, okay? So it is okay to go out and talk to a therapist. It's okay to talk to a person about what's happening in your family and what's happening in your household, what's happening at your job, and what you're experiencing and what you're thinking and all the things. They are withheld to confidentiality. Now, if you're thinking of hurting yourself or other people, there are other steps that they will be obligated to take to help protect you and anyone that you may be at risk of harming, and to get you the help that you need. So, and we'll kind of dive a little bit more on that another time. But today we're just talking about, getting to the therapist. Okay, so when do you need a psychiatrist? So your journey could start with a psychiatrist. You could go to the psychiatrist and then do the therapy, or you can go to the therapist, and when it's discovered, what will happen is, if your therapist believes that you would benefit from medication management and you're open to medication management, you would have to go to the psychiatrist for that. So the therapist is only licensed and allowed in any state, any location. A therapist can only do therapy sessions with you, and there's different types of therapy. We'll dive much deeper into that another time too, but different types of therapy. But in any case, the therapist is not licensed to prescribe medications. They can treat conditions, but they cannot prescribe you medications for anything that you may be experiencing. So you would have to see the psychiatrist for the medication management. So And there's as physicians, psychiatrists, and then what I am aspiring to do, psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So you could see either of those for your medication management. When it comes to medications, something that I really, really like to stress, really focus on for people, because you know what, there was a time when I too was strongly against psychiatric meds, really meds in general. But when we're thinking about psychiatric meds, people think, number one, people think, well, I ain't crazy. I don't need no pill. No, I don't want no crazy pills. And then the other thing is that people think that they're, have to take this for the rest of their lives. But the reality is, you can take psychiatric meds for a year or two or some other time or however long. You can take the meds and then you can wean off of them when you are stable. Or you can, you might end up at a high dose and then you can back down to a lower dosage. And maybe you do stay on that for the duration of life, or, for long term, for several years before you get off of it. Or maybe you do need it for life, but that will look different for everybody. But the point is, you don't have to stay on the medication for life if you can be stable without it. But that's why therapy is very important. Medications alone won't do it for sure. And sometimes therapy alone doesn't do it. So, therapy with a therapist, see the psychiatrist for some medication for whatever your needs may be. Okay, and it may be the thing too with the meds, sometimes it does take a little trial and error, and that's something else. People hear, things like that, and then they don't want to do it. But I mean, to get it right, sometimes we do have to try different ones, and that's okay. Because if you think about the benefit, think about you on the other side. Listen, there is a happier, healthier, better version of yourself waiting on the other side. So I'm going to ask you to work on having an open mind and an open heart, when you see your therapist, when you get with a psychiatrist, okay? And then there's also a psychologist. And I hope I don't lose you. I know they can be confused. I'll be honest, I'm still like understanding and learning to keep myself straight on what each, different individual offers and is able to do. But psychologists, they can do therapy sessions, they can diagnose. um, Typically, psychologists are not doing medication management. The psychiatrist is the only one that usually kind of long term does medication management. But the psychologists, they can do therapy sessions, and they may, diagnose and do certain types of testing, more extensive testing and things than what the psychiatrist would do. So forgive me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I believe you can also find a psychologist on Psychology Today, in addition to the therapist and the psychiatrist. But if not, I will work to find a way to get a link to find a psychologist, and get more specific on when you would need one. So, benefits of support groups. So, we talked about therapy, so that's individual therapy, and there is also group therapy. But those are therapy sessions, right? Then support groups. I love support groups because support groups are sort of more informal, and you can dip in and out, like for group therapy, that is different than a support group. Group therapy, you would have to show up. It's usually, for example, facilities have what's called IOP, intensive outpatient therapy, and usually it's about 2 or 3 days a week. In the evenings, is what I've seen most programs do, and so it is intensive therapy for several weeks, and you do have to show up, to each of those. But for a support group, again, this is more informal. You can pop in and out periodically, or whenever you need to, whenever you want to. You're not sort of beholden to a certain amount of time. And support groups are usually free. It's not something that it's not, no one's providing care that needs to be billed through insurance or paid for. It's usually something free, offered through different facilities or programs. For example, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has support groups. You can go to, I'll have NAMI's website linked below, and you can go to NAMI's website, and then you can also find your local chapter. Like, for example, where I am in Kansas City, we do have a greater Kansas City NAMI website where you can go and find all the Kansas City area support groups. So they have online, they have in person, and they've got family therapy sessions. They have sessions for people that are recovering from like substance abuse, things of that nature. So support groups. And for mom support groups, I also have a link while as I'm talking. I don't want to bombard my links, y'all. I'm still working that out. I don't want to do more than 5 links. Okay. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but if you're listening, you can let me know. You say, hey, I like her podcast, but she be putting too many links in the show notes. If I do that, let me know. But I will link, have a link specifically for, of course, for mom support groups. But yeah, I'll have NAMI and then I'll have mother support groups specifically linked. Let's get to explaining actually the benefits of support groups. So yeah, as I mentioned, they're informal and you can pop in and out as you please. And then you're getting to meet with people who may be going through similar experiences, and you don't have to talk if you don't want to. If you want to pop in and just listen initially until you get comfortable speaking, that's okay too. And you can show up to a support group without, like, let's say for example, I do understand that it's not super easy to get in with therapists for different reasons. Believe me, I had my own experiences with it being difficult to get into therapists. So trust me, honey, I get it. But let's say, for example, if maybe you're on a waiting list for a therapist and you want to get to somewhere while you wait, maybe it's another 6 weeks or something before you can see the therapist. But in the meantime, you can go to a support group anytime. So that's one great benefit. A support group, typically support groups don't have wait lists. You there should be space for you, because again, as I mentioned, some people are not everyone is going every week to certain support groups. People are popping in and out, and so the attendance kind of wax and wanes. There may be a handful of people one week, there may be dozens of people the next week. It can vary in a support group and depending on the location and everything, and as well. So those are some of the benefits of the support groups. Things you can do at home. We're thinking about, trying to stabilize your mood. We're thinking about uplifting your spirits, if it's dealing with, low mood, or if you're dealing with agitation, or, being super worried about things, whatever that may look like. So some things you can do at home would be, if you, whatever your faith is, whatever you believe in. For me personally, I'm a Christian woman. I'm going to pray, and I'll talk a little bit more about religion another time, but that's really new for me in the last couple of years, right? Like, I was raised in church, and then I had about a decade of my adult life where I said, eh, that doesn't really make sense to me. How I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. But now that it's been a full circle moment for me, it's been amazing actually. And so now I choose my religion purely by choice, not because it's what was just handed to me. I truly understand choosing it. I understand why I choose it, and it's been phenomenal. But I pray. So whatever you believe in, or whatever your source is, whatever your faith is, go to that. Get deep rooted into that, and position yourself in a place where you connect with others that have that same faith and that same belief system, because that's going to help strengthen you in whatever your belief system is, whatever religion you identify with. If you get strong in connecting with other people in that community, like, that's going to be, phenomenal support as well. So other things you can do at home too, spending some time outdoors. I know outdoors is not for everybody, but listen, even if you sit out on the porch and get 10 minutes of sunshine a day, or even for 5 minutes, but just getting out the house, getting a change of scenery, and getting some sunlight, that natural vitamin D is going to help stabilize your mood and help uplift your spirits. Now, of course, if the weather is not to your liking, weather not permitting, then I understand not going outside, but you could do, like, I'm recording next to a window here, and I got my curtains open. And so letting some sunshine into your house, that can be nice too, right? Going for a walk, doing some type of activity, getting your body in motions, movement helps as well. And if you need to get the thoughts out of your head, journaling. And I know some people say, oh, it's not for me. I don't want to do that. I don't like it. Also, how do you do it? You want to just write down my feelings? What do you mean? Now, for me, I'm a writer and I'm a poet. And so that was natural for me. But I get that it's not natural for everybody to just start writing down their thoughts and feelings. But getting it out of your head can help release some of the heaviness of what you're experiencing and just getting it on paper. And then also like reading what you've been thinking. I know for myself, there's times when I write down some thoughts and feelings I'm having. And then once I write it down and I say it out loud, it's different, right? I've realized, why am I even mad about this? So you may not have that same kind of epiphany, but it will shift you in some kind of way if you write it down, get it out of your head. Like it, you will have some type of a shift. So in journaling, so if you're not used to journaling, I mean, you can get any notebook, kind of get any notebook, any piece of paper, any pen, whatever. It does not matter. But if you do feel open to the idea of journaling, but you truly feel like, I don't know how to journal. I don't know what I would do. I've tried it before and then I just don't write anything. So you can get some guided journal. You can get journals that with journal prompts. So that's what it would be, a journal prompt. So it may say something like, what was your favorite part of today? And why was that the favorite part of your day? What do you usually do when you're having a tough time? What do you like? It may ask you a question. It may, like it's a prompt, right? It prompts you to think about. So think about like in school when you had to do essays and things, you had a writing prompt. So journals with prompts or like guided journaling, those kinds of things, they'll have a prompt that you follow, you write based on that. So, and I'll put a link to a journal that actually filled the journal, and then I bought another of the same exact journal with prompts. I bought the same journal twice because after I filled up the first one and I was feeling okay, but I was like, I still need a little. I need to get back to journaling, so I bought the same journal again. But I'll put that linked in the show notes as well. And full disclosure, if I ever link an item, ever link a product, it may be an Amazon affiliate link. So from Amazon, I do receive a commission from Amazon, not from you. Your price is the same. It does your price is the same, so you don't need to worry about it. Other than I do have to legally tell you that um, I do, if I post a product, it's an Amazon affiliate link, and I'll always make sure to tell you when that's the case. But this journal, it was really special to me, y'all. It really did help me in the darkest depths of my postpartum depression and being sleep deprived. It was super, super helpful for me. So that's journaling. And just think about, in general, think about things that bring you joy. Like if you like to sing, start singing more. If you like to dance, just create more opportunities for dancing in your house. Listen, in my house, we have random dance parties very frequently. Music comes on and we just dance in the living room, we dance in the hallway, we dance in the kitchen, we just dance. Me and my kids, we all enjoy singing and dancing together. So that's something simple that uplifts us. If you have a game system like we enjoy, Just Dance, I need to get the new ones. We haven't had it in a little while, so we do need to get a upgraded Just Dance. But yeah, so if you like things like that, like think about those simple things that bring you joy and do them more often. And I know when you have low energy, when you're struggling mentally, the energy isn't there, the inspiration isn't there. But if you're listening to this, I know you got it just a little bit in you to just do at least one thing. Don't do all those things I mentioned, but pick one. Just pick one thing or whatever thing that brings you joy. Even do that for just 5 minutes a day. That's your homework, okay? Start doing something at least 5 minutes a day that brings you joy, okay? Now, how can family help you? So, family and friends can help you by, and if you are a person who you're not a mother, but you're here listening because you support mothers and you have a mother in your life that you're trying to show up better for, claps for you. Thank you for being here. But things that family and friends can do to support someone who is struggling mentally. So, first of all, if somebody tells you, I can't do this, I'm so stressed out, oh my God, life is horrible, don't rebuttal with, oh girl, you have a great life. What you talking about? Don't say things like that. Like acknowledge like their feelings are valid, their feelings are real. That's the first thing. You want to validate the feelings. I hear you, I see you, I hear what you're saying. I understand you're very stressed right now. Wow. Ask what you can do to help. Okay. And then offer what is within your capacity to truly help. Again, whatever your religion is, if the mother you're trying to support is someone who's open to prayer, just ask, hey, can I pray for you? And pray for them right then and there. Pray at that time. Pray for them. And if they, are struggling to, like, they said they want to go to therapy, like you've heard this mother say they want to go to therapy, they want to see a psychiatrist, they want to do all these things and they haven't done it. Again, she's got low energy, honey. She's got struggling with the motivation and inspiration to get up and do things that are important, but it's just hard when you are running on low fumes. Okay, you got no gasoline, the car ain't moving. So some things you can do to support is to say, hey, like send little friendly reminders like, hey girl, did you get scheduled with the therapist? Okay, like just send friendly reminders. And then if she says, oh no, girl, say, okay, well, wait, like what stopped you? What happened? Okay, well, like what can I do to help you remember that? What can I do to help you get that done? Like, do you have time right now? Like people need help, may need help with like prompting with those questions. Like that's something you can do to help. It's so simple, right? It's so simple. If they want to go to a support group and they're nervous to go, offer to go with them. It's a support group. I say it's informal. You can go too. If you are also a mother, like maybe you're not a mother that's having a hard time, but you're going to go just to support the mother that you know. If you're a friend or family member, hey, you guys can call the coordinator of the support group ahead of time and say if you're a spouse listening to this, say, hey, husband calling to see if I can come with my wife to the meeting, or at least be the one to drop her off. I mean, and honestly, as I'm saying that, I don't know if that's a thing, if husbands or partners are showing up at mom support groups with mothers, but get creative, you know, get creative. And say, be the one. If you can't attend with the mother, drop her off, pick her up afterwards, do something special with her, before or after the support group or the therapy session. And really just be present, be present, create a judgment free zone. Again, either easier said than done, but you can create a judgment free zone by acknowledging your own biases, okay, and kicking those to the curb when you're talking to this mother. Like, for example, I know a lot of mothers who mean well, but like, don't project your experience onto other mothers. Again, that's one way that you can help. If you're listening as a mother who maybe you feel like you're doing good in life, but you're here to support other mothers or just to get some information for future reference, if you know a mother who's having a hard time, don't project your experience onto her. Be there for her and her experience, okay? Because this is that mother's time. This is their experience. And bringing your trauma from your hard times into her experience is not going to help anyone. So let's think about that. Your experience, your feelings about your experience are valid too, but if you're trying to get in helper mode, this is not the time for that. Okay, I kindly, respectfully, lovingly say that's just not the time. Okay, now I'm going to check my bullet points and make sure. um so we talked about finding a therapist, psychiatrist, what you can do at home, how family can help, benefits of support groups. The funny thing, I forgot my number one bullet point, y'all. When do you need to seek professional help? So what does that look like? So when you need to seek professional help would be if you're having sort of a crippling experience. Let's say if your experience is interfering with your ability to work, your ability to go to school, get your schoolwork done, interfering with your ability to interact with, your partner, your children. If the way you are feeling, if what you're experiencing seems to be impeding on your ability to show up as your best self or to show up and get the things done. And, I talked about forgetting or not having the energy to get certain things done. Yes, if your experience is depleting you of energy and motivation, there's things that you used to enjoy doing that you no longer enjoy. if you, for example, were a social butterfly and now you want nothing to do with anybody, you want to just be a shut-in, you don't want to talk to people, you barely shower, you don't brush your teeth, things like that. If you are not taking good care of your body, your hygiene habits have changed. If you're speaking too fast, speaking too slowly, you're stuttering, you're like, if there's any of those kind of major changes in you that you've noticed or people are telling you about, these are times when it's time to seek help. And of course, if you're having thoughts of hurting yourself or anyone else, that's always a time to seek help. And I know that it can be scary to admit that. It can be scary, but we want you to get help. You don't want to stay that way, right? I know you don't want to stay that way. Having thoughts of hurting yourself or hurting other people, that is difficult to live with. And you don't have to live with it. That's the thing. You can talk to somebody, you can start some medication, you can go to some groups, you can do some things to heal from that. And if you're having hallucinations, if you're seeing or hearing things that may not be there, that's auditory hallucinations. When you're hearing things that aren't there, visual hallucinations, when you're seeing things that aren't there, if you're any of those experiences, it is time to seek help, okay? And I forgot my disclaimer in the beginning, y'all. This is my second full episode. I'm so excited. But yeah, still getting used to my own rhythm, right? But anything you heard here today is for informational and educational purposes only. Listening to this podcast does not replace you receiving professional help from a licensed medical provider. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. So if you or anyone you know are having thoughts of hurting yourself or others, or if you're just generally feeling like you're struggling mentally, you can call the lifeline, the national lifeline at 988. And for anyone who is, pregnant or in that postpartum stage or of any childbearing age. So if you're a mother, or if you could be a mother, you can call 833-852-6262 24/7. You can text or call that phone number. And of course, if there is an emergency, again, we talked before about psychosis. If you have if you're having someone who has become violent and irrational, or having hallucinations, actively trying to hurt themselves or actively trying to hurt anyone else, you can call 911 and mention that you're calling about a psychiatric emergency, or you can say a mental health crisis. Ask for a crisis intervention team officer, because this will be an officer who is trained in being aware of mental health illnesses, how that presents, and understanding safe ways to de-escalate, to keep in mind the safety of everyone involved, because we want the best outcomes for the person having the emergency, everyone around them, and for the officers. Okay, we want everybody to be safe, right? So, and this week I am going through a reading plan on the Bible app. So if you're a Bible reading person like me and you want to join me, and if not, that's okay too, honey. But I am reading the Bible plan starting this Friday, February 20th. We're going to do we did More Than a Mom last week. We're going to do No More Perfect Mom. So this Bible plan will help you free yourself from unrealistic expectations as you learn to view yourself as God has made you. Isn't that beautiful? So it will include excerpts from Jill Savage's book by the same title, No More Perfect Moms. So this is a 7-day plan. So again, just if you've never done any plans in the YouVersion Bible app, the way the plans work, you have the devotional, and then there's some scripture to follow. And then when you're doing it with other people, like we'll be doing, there'll be a spot for you to leave comments and to just kind of have some conversation about, like what you got out of that day. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for dealing with my kind of scratchy voice today. Please let me know, and leave a comment, leave a review, and let me know at least one thing that you found helpful today for yourself or for anyone else. And if you did find something helpful here today, please, I ask you to share this episode with someone you know, because that is how we get to have the greatest impact with the greatest number of mothers. Peace and love, y'all.